Hey guys, it's Mia here, and welcome back to another movie review. Now, I recently watched the movie It Follows, and this is a 2014 movie that I am surprised that I just now heard of. Now, I heard about this movie through a channel that makes fun of another movie commentary channel called CinemaSins, and that he is actually goes by the name The Birdman. So, I was watching his video about making fun of CinemaSins about this movie and how he made mistakes in questioning the movie and how his channel doesn't actually talk about CinemaSins but just makes pointless jokes to make their videos longer. So that's how I found out about this movie called It Follows. Now, if you don't know, It Follows is about our main protagonist, Jay, and her sister, her best friend, and a random dude. So, one day, Jay goes out with this guy, and she finally does the deed with him, and so he ends up kidnapping her and saying, "There's this thing, it's going to follow you. I gave it to you after someone gave it to me. And if it gets you, it can look like anyone you know. It can look like anyone at all. And it'll always move slow, but it is not stupid." And she goes, "Okay, you're crazy. What are you talking about?" So he puts her in a situation where she is forced to see it. And the catch to this monster is only those who were marked by having it sexually transmitted to them are the ones that can see the monster. So they're not able to get help from other people because no one else can see it. Only the people marked can see it. And this thing is not killable. It's unkillable. And it's crazy. Now, there are ways to get away from it, like you could go, it moves super slow, and it very rarely changes directions, like it moves in like a straight line. So they use that to get away, and if you stay ahead of it, you'll be perfectly fine. So as long as you keep moving and keep going, then you'll be safe. But the thing is, with it constantly on top of you, it's hard to think, it's hard to sleep, it's hard to stay in one place for too long. And because it can be anyone, the movie does this great job of showing the paranoia that this causes the characters. They don't know who it is. They see a girl walking down the street with a backpack and freak out because she's walking slow, but it's not the entity. Now, the thing with this entity is it's kind of like one of those chainmail game type deals where if you have the entity after you, you can sleep with another person to pass it on to them. And so the more people they pass it on to, the longer it'll take to get back to you after it slowly kills off the people that it's been transferred to. So my immediate thought was, if this is sexually transmitted and it goes down the line of people that it happened to after and goes down from there, instead of going from the one who started it to the highest, it goes from the one who got it last and down that way. So I was like, well, this isn't a good thing and this is illegal, but if it was between life and death, I was like, why not transfer it to someone who sleeps with many, many, many people to keep the chain going and going and going and going? Like, that's what I thought, because the more people that they sleep with, the longer the chain is going to be until it gets to those other people and to you specifically. So that was my thought to stop the entity. Like, I don't know, that's what I would have done if I was in that situation, and if I even had the heart to pass it on to somebody else, because that becomes a moral dilemma. Do I willingly pass this on to someone else and put them in the same predicament I'm in? Or do I just say, screw it, I can try to run for as long as I can and try to find another way to kill it, because there's gotta be some way to kill it. I personally would start doing all the research I could, start looking through history, start looking through like stuff like that to try and figure out a way to get away from it, as well as keeping moving and setting myself on a sleep schedule where I only sleep maybe 1-2 hours a night. That would be kind of slowing me down, but I would feel terrible passing this on to somebody else, even though my first thought was, well, hey, you could pass it on that way, but I personally would feel horrible putting someone else in that situation. So I don't know if I would try to find some supernatural way to kill a supernatural creature, but that's just me. So in terms of the movie, I feel like this movie did a really good job of setting up suspense. And it does a great job of ramping up the paranoia and like the struggle that these people are facing. They're afraid to sleep because they're afraid if they sleep, it'll get too close and kill them. They're afraid to be alone because of this entity. Even though no one can see the entity except the people that are marked by it, they still feel strength in numbers. And it becomes this real battle of, is that just a person walking slow, or is that the entity coming after me? Did I sleep too long and now it's on my butt? Did I stay in one place too long and now I'm at risk? Is that really my dad, or is that the entity trying to get close to me? Like, that would cause immense paranoia. And the movie does a great job of showing this, because there are so many times where the movie could have slid into jump scare territory, but it builds that tension and builds that tension and builds that tension, and then subverts it by it not being the monster. It doesn't give us a cheap jump scare. It doesn't do something really dramatic. It's either the entity or it's not the entity. If it's the entity, you gotta book it. If not, you're good. But I loved that. I was on the edge of my seat with freaked out, as paranoid as the characters were, because it does such a good job of demonstrating this paranoia. And there was this really cool shot of, they had barricaded themselves in the bedroom because the entity got in the house. And they open the door and it's the sister, but then you see the entity right behind her with just empty eye sockets, and just, she freaks out, and it's such a good shot. There was no loud noise, there was no jump scare, just the dread of it being that close and not knowing what to do. And it's just a lot of moments like that throughout the show, or throughout the movie, and the entity is not dumb. So there was a point where they were trying to set a trap for it, and instead of falling for the trap, the entity uses the kid's own trap against them, because it's not stupid, and it's really pretty much indestructible. So I feel like this movie is a great watch if you're tired of all the jump scare horror, because if you're like me and think that jump scares are the laziest form of horror, if not done right, which a lot of movies do not do it right. But yeah, It Follows is a really great movie. It will play on your paranoia, it will subvert your expectations, it will have you on the edge of your seat and make you question everything, and it's a great movie. I really feel like it's worth a watch. So if you do check it out, let me know. If you don't, that's okay too, that's your preference. And also, why not check out The Birdman and CinemaSins? They're both good channels, I like them both, and I think you'll have a good time with the movie, with the channels, and hope to see you guys next time. Bye guys.